Not sure how to create your budget when living off student loans? Then make sure to keep watching. Hi, my name is Jael. I'm a 21-year-old student educational sciences in the Netherlands, and welcome to A Life of Learning. On this channel, I hope to help out fellow students by sharing my educational knowledge and my personal experiences. So make sure to subscribe if that is something you are interested in. Today I wanted to talk to you about a very important topic for those of you who will be taking out student loans for their studies next year, which is how to budget when living off student loans. Because a lot of the general budgeting advice out there does not really apply to budgeting on loans. When budgeting on an income, your income decides the maximum that you can spend. But in a way, when living off student loans, you can decide your own income. Because in most countries, to a certain extent, students can decide themselves how much money they want to loan. But of course you don't want to loan the absolute maximum if that is not necessary, because that just means that you will have to pay back more money after you are done with your studies, which can obviously get you in serious trouble if you have to pay back more money than you are earning. However, you also want to have enough money to cover your expenses now. So to help you a bit with figuring out this dilemma, here are some of my tips for budgeting on student loans. Just a short disclaimer, I do want to stress that I am not a financial professional advisor at all. These tips are solely based on my own experiences with budgeting on student loans. So please don't follow any of the advice in this video blindly, and always consider your personal circumstances and loan conditions. I also want to say that I hate even having to make this video, because in my opinion, education should be equally accessible to all. And the current system of loans in many countries is not achieving that. Student loans are extremely stressful because yes, of course, it is an investment in yourself. But there is also always this lingering doom that you could get in serious financial trouble because of having taken out these loans. And I just don't think that it is fair for people to have to start off their lives with that kind of worry in mind. And especially considering that the impact of having to take out a loan is a lot bigger for students that come from a lower socioeconomic background than those who come from a higher socioeconomic background. But sadly, it's the reality that we currently have to deal with. And I hope I can help you use your loans in the wisest way possible with my tips. Before loaning money, it is very important to consider the conditions of your loan. And this differs a lot per country, so make sure to check what kind of loans are available in your country for students. I would personally say that the most important aspects to check are the interest rate, how long you can take to pay it back, and what will happen if you cannot afford to pay it back. Because those aspects basically determine how much of an issue it could become if you take out a lot of money. But definitely study all the conditions, because loans are a financial commitment, and you should make sure that you are informed what commitment you are making exactly, because this will also help you determine how much money you can somewhat safely take out. So when budgeting, you will have to take into account both your set expenses and your variable expenses. And your set expenses are the things for which you already know beforehand how much money you will spend on them each month or each year, such as your rent or your tuition. Your variable expenses, on the other hand, are the things for which you cannot know beforehand how much money you exactly will have to spend on them, such as your groceries or your clothing. So set expenses are quite easy to budget for, but variable expenses are a bit more tricky, because in some months you will likely spend more on them than in other months. So the way I would suggest to deal with this is to specify both a maximum and a desired amount for each type of variable expenses. And then take out loans for the maximum, but aim for the desired amount when spending money. So let's say that the average costs of groceries for a student in the Netherlands are 180 euros a month, then it is probably smart to loan about 210 or 220 for groceries, just to give yourself some wiggle room and make sure that you don't end up with absolutely no money at the end of the month. I do have to say though that it is important to not go too overboard with the maximum amount, because you will most probably have to pay interest over the extra money that you loan. And the more extra money that you loan, the more extra interest you will need to pay. And I also think that it is smart to put all the money that you did not spend on a separate account, so that you have the option to pay this back immediately after you finish your studies, to make sure that you minimize the extra interest that you will have to pay over that amount. And if your loan follow a system like in the Netherlands, where you can change the amount of money that you loan every month, I think it is wise to try it out for like 2 or 3 months and then lower your maxima if you think you can. Again, to avoid accumulating an unnecessary amount of interest that you will have to pay back eventually. Something that you also should not forget is to leave room in your budget for building an emergency fund. Because again, even though you don't want to accumulate too much debt, you also don't want to get yourself in a position where you really need money now and you don't have it. And I think as a student, one of the first emergencies I can think of is your laptop breaking down, because doing your studies without a laptop is of course quite difficult. So you will probably want to replace it, and you do want to have money available to cover these types of expenses if you ever get unlucky. So depending on whether you take your loan out all at once or on a monthly or yearly basis, I would recommend taking out your emergency fund money all at once and put it away on a separate account, or take out some extra money each year or each month and use this to slowly build an emergency fund on a separate account. And if you can change your amount on a monthly or yearly basis, you can also take out extra in the first year or the first few months to build the fund and then stop loaning extra afterwards. But in whatever way you decide to do it, I do think that it is very important for you to budget for an emergency fund. So this one might be a tiny bit controversial, but I don't think you should feel guilty about budgeting for fun stuff. Yes, loans are a serious thing and you should not be careless with them at all. But for the sake of your mental health, it is probably a good idea to also leave some room in your budget for fun stuff. Because studying can be hard enough and you do deserve to have some fun from time to time, even if that means that you might have to pay back some more money later. And of course you can get a side job or something to earn some extra money, so that not all your fun stuff needs to be funded by loan money. But if you ever find yourself without a job for whatever reason, don't think you should not be able to spend loan money on fun stuff. You can try to find ways to have fun that cost as little money as possible, but allow yourself some freedom to spend money on fun things, because you deserve to do fun stuff even if it costs money. So those are my tips for budgeting when living off student loans. I really hope they were helpful. If you thought so, make sure to leave a like so that others might find this video as well. Let me know in the comments if you have any additional tips for budgeting on student loans and what you think of the concept of student loans in general. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me with tips for student life, and I wish you lots of love and a life of learning.